What I have here are two Imperial IV Sheaffers. Now why am I showing two? Because they are different. This one is a new old stock black touchdown, and the burgundy is a 1963 50th anniversary cartridge fill. Turn these around, and I will start with the Imperial IV touchdown, and these were originally produced in 1961. I love this style nib, this triangular diamond shaped, arrowhead shaped nib inlaid, 14 karat gold. Both of them have the gold plated collar, gold plated clip, and the white dot on the cap. And like I said, this is a touchdown version. So you unscrew, you place the nib in the ink, pull up on the plunger, push down, do that a few times, sucks up the ink, and as you can see, Imperial IV, this is the fine nib at $12.50. Oops, that goes in posted. You know, I made this video once before, and I think I have onset Parkinson's because my hand shakes, especially my left hand, and I was just not happy with that video. So I'm doing this again. This is later on at night after a few beers, and hopefully this one turns out better. So you can see also on this Sheaffer Imperial 4 pen black fine point, $12.50. I'll leave that off because I'm going to get back to this one again. And now we go to this one, and you can see the sticker was taken off, but it says Imperial medium, Imperial 4 medium, $12.50. So exactly the same price. And the difference from what I read from penheroes.com is that for the 50th anniversary, this one you can see does not have anything written on the clip. Some of them do say Sheaffers. This one instead says Lifetime, still has the gold-plated collar, the gold-plated band and gold-plated clip. Around the cap here is different. This one just says Sheaffers made in USA, whereas this one says Sheaffers Lifetime made in USA. And the Sheaffers Lifetime they originally abandoned in 1947, but they brought it back again for this pen, and again right under this band right here, so right under where the cap would rest, it says the same thing that's on the cap. It says Sheaffers Lifetime made in USA. So again, it is the exact same nib. But it does have the cartridge fill, and this is a brand new cartridge. So in other words, this isn't new old stock cartridge. This was a cartridge that I bought recently, well, within the past couple of years. So you can still use a brand new cartridge that you go and buy at the store and put it in a 60-plus-year-old pen. So I really do like that burgundy. This one, as you can see, is not new old stock. This one has been used, not only by me, but by someone who owned it before me. And another difference, see, I told you I wasn't done with this one, is if you look at the top, they are both squared off, but on this pen, on the touchdown, it's completely flat, smooth, whereas this one has a multiple circular pattern going on at the top of the pen. I don't have any other Imperial IVs to compare this with. I have other Imperials, but no other Imperial IVs to compare this with. And the cap is smooth. I think just a beautiful pen. And this one's new old stock, so it's staying new old stock. There is no ink going into this. And now it is time to give it the right test. And I have a couple pieces of paper here that I've used before. This is, I believe this is the 80 weight. Now, also another thing that I wanted to mention was the Sheaffers have a tendency to have this slightly upturned nib that you might be able to see there. And I was doing research on another pen that I had that was the Triumph nib. And one of the things that was mentioned is that the reason for the upturned nib was twofold. It was so they give you a smoother writing experience, and it also allowed you to write nib down with a finer point. Now this will do it. I don't know for how long, but you can see that you do have a finer line than you would with the standard medium that this pen is. Now again, I'm not inking this one up, which is a fine point, to see how much finer that'll write. And of course, I normally have a piece of 140-pound weight paper sitting here to show you how that would work. But I did try it, and writing upside down with either the Triumph nib or the Imperial style arrowhead diamond shaped nib, it didn't absorb the paper, or didn't absorb into the paper as well because of its tighter knit. So anyway, that is that. Now on to the dimensions of these pens. So we will start out, well, I'll just do this. Well, that one's not capped. Let's do this. So if we were looking at this thing capped, it is coming at 5 3/8 inches or 13.65 centimeters. Uncapped, and that is including the nib, is coming in at 4 5/8 or 11.11 centimeters. Posted, typically don't post pens. I mean, it does have a good feel to it posted, so that is no issue at all. It is coming in at 5 3/4 of an inch or 14.61 centimeters. And then the barrel diameter, I usually do it at the largest point here, is coming in at 10.8 millimeters or just over 3/8 of an inch. Nib length. Now I'm going to mention the nib length on this because different, I guess you would call this Imperial style nib, even though not all Imperials had this inlaid diamond shaped nib. The two did not. Is coming in at 1 1/4 inches or 31.8 millimeters. And I have other Sheaffer pens with this style nib. I have a 550, I have a 330, I have a 500, but that's a Dolphin, so that wouldn't really count for the most part. And they're different sizes. The length of the nib from this point here, and you can see it says USA, maybe because I got the light going on. And let's see, let's do weight now. Again, I've had a few beers in me, so I'm kind of iffy on what I've said before. I may repeat myself, but forgive me for that. I think I'm doing better now than I did before, but you're not going to see what I did before. So anyway, okay, on with the weight. All right, so here we're looking at 15 grams on the nose. That's for the cartridge, and you have to remember this is pretty much a fairly new cartridge. I have used it a few times. And now we'll do the touchdown. And the touchdown is coming up as 17.41, so 2.41, or maybe let's say 2.5 grams heavier, to round it up, heavier than the cartridge pen. And what does that mean to you? Probably not a whole lot. And so what I started doing, if you watch my other videos, the last 2 or 3 videos that I did before, I pulled out a couple of companion pens so you can get an idea based on what you may have at home, how much these pens weigh or how much heavier these pens weigh. Just a big disposable bound stick grip, whatever it is. Anyway, it's a disposable pen, something you would find at a bank, probably have a pack of them at home. So that's 5 grams. So this is 15 grams, which means this is going to be 3 times heavier than this big disposable. Another pen that I use is just a traditional jotter, Parker jotter, 15.28. So you can see that the jotter is slightly heavier than a completely inked up cartridge, or almost completely inked up cartridge version of the Sheaffer Imperial IV. And less than the touchdown, which would be you would expect that because this is going to have a lot more stuff going on inside of it. Imperial IV, fine, $12.50. You go back in the box, and you will never be seen again. No, I'm just kidding. I'll probably see it again, but just not anytime soon. New old stock stays new old stock. I do not like to ink up, or it's only going to be this way once, and this is the way this pen is going to stay at least as long as I own it. So anyway, yeah, these are really nice looking pens. They're fairly common and they aren't especially expensive. And if you're looking at my hands thinking there's a lot of ink on it, that was because I had an accident with one of my other pens that I newly put a sack on. I replaced a sack, and I was writing with that for a while, and I was walking around with it today and dropped it on the floor, which caused the ink to just kind of go through the feed and fill, well, not necessarily fill up the cap, but make a whole big mess. And I had to hunt down the problem to see what it was, clean out the cap. I had to clean, anyway, that's why my pens are, or my fingers are all inked up. Not this, these. So anyway, yeah, that's the Sheaffer Imperial IV. I think for the price of this pen, what it is, you can get it for an affordable price. And I think the way that it writes, the way that it just feels in your fingers, in my fingers at least, it's worth every penny. And I can honestly say I do have a bias towards Sheaffer. I'm sure it'll be maybe like Ford and GM, or Ford, GM, and Mopar, Chrysler, Ford, and General Motors. You have their fans who, I drive Fords only. I will never drive a General Motors car, that kind of thing. I'm not that picky. But at the same time, I guess if I were to say I was a Sheaffer or a Parker guy, let's say we got 3 here. We got Mopar, we got GM, and we got Ford. And I would think that it would probably be, I could be wrong, it could be Waterman's, but I'm just going to throw Cross in there. So let's say Sheaffer, Parker, Cross. I'm more fond of the Sheaffers than the Parkers or the Cross. Anyway, as absurd as that may sound, that's the way I am. So just to let you know, I love this pen. I think it's a great pen. I especially love the burgundy. I don't know how rare this particular 1963 version is, but it is back in its box. And if you enjoyed the video, click like, subscribe. Subscribing always helps me. Liking always helps me, because that allows me, or not necessarily allows me, but what it does is, you know, it helps motivate me to make the next video. And I do have another one coming up on Friday. So again, you know, if you like this video, click like, subscribe, and again, thanks for watching. Bye.